I am Ziphetile Shezi. In this presentation, my group and I will introduce to you how sociology views gender. We will also clearly explain the views of gender under conflict theory and functionalism. And after we have clearly explained all of the above topics mentioned, we will then state the critiques of functionalism and conflict theory under gender.
Gender is the most popular topic done by many people. Biologists do view gender on their own perspective. However, sociologists on the other hand view gender differently. In this case, I'm going to focus on gender according to the sociologist term. Basically, gender is the state of being male or female, typically used with reference to social and cultural differences rather than biological ones. Gender is the structure of social relations that centers on the reproductive arena and the set of practices that bring reproductive distinctions between bodies into social processes. To put it informally, gender concerns the way human society deals with human bodies and the many consequences of that deal in our personal lives and our collective space. Gender is more fluid. It may or may not depend upon biological traits. More specifically, it is concepts that describe how societies determine and manage sex categories, the cultural meaning attached to men and women's roles, and how individuals understand their identities, including, but not limited to, being a man, woman, transgender, intersex, genderqueer, and other gender positions. Gender involves social norms, attitudes, and activities that society deems more appropriate for one sex over another. Gender is also determined by what an individual feels and does. The sociology of gender examines how society influences our understanding and perception of differences between masculinity and femininity. For example, when learners in school are being told about doctor, the images that represent doctor are normally those of males, which makes the children see doctors as male only.
In addition to what my other colleague has mentioned when defining gender, white sex refers to the biological trait between females and males. Gender, on the other hand, refers to the distinctive qualities of men, which is masculinity, and of women, which is femininity. And these qualities are created by the culture. As far as sociologists are concerned, gender is the socially learned expectation and behavior associated with each member or with each sex. Different sociologists have contributed toward understanding gender. According to the functionalist, gender differentiation contributes to the overall stability in society. This theory distributes the role of each sex. For example, in a family, the man is regarded as a breadwinner and the woman fulfills an expressive and emotionally supportive role, which is a caregiver. Conflict theorists, on the other hand, they regard gender differences as a reflection of subjugation of women by men. They assert that gender stratification results from private ownership of the means of production, as some men gain control on the distribution of resources and thus gain power over women. Hence, this results in the conflict on our society.
To you all, I am Miss Future Kubone and I'm going to present about functionalist perspective on gender. Functionalist approach holds society with interdependent parts which constitutes the whole, meaning everyone must play his or her role to maintain stability in society. The functionalist view traced back the issue of gender from the ancient time, whereby there was a division of labor for men and women. Women used to do housekeeping, taking care of their children and their husband, whereas men used to go outside, do jobs like hunting, providing food, shelter for their families. This labor division still exists even today because there are some jobs that are still reserved for men. We as women feel like we cannot do them, such as digging in mines and also digging graves. We are also socialized in a way that women must take care of their families and men must provide for their families financially. Even in schools, some jobs are reserved for girls, such as cleaning the classroom, and some jobs are reserved for boys, such as cleaning the windows and lifting this desk while girls are cleaning their classrooms. Persons, the functionalist theory, maintain that acting according to proper roles for men and female in the family helps for socialization of children. Girls, they used to look up to their mothers, and also boys used to look up to their fathers. Furthermore, he distinguishes these roles as instrumental role and expressive role. Instrumental roles refer to being a breadwinner, providing shelter, food for the family, and that role is for men. And expressive role being submissive and sensitive, taking care of their children, husbands, and emotional support, and that role is reserved for mothers. Another functionalist view of gender is that women have a crucial importance for socialization of children. And if children do not have a mother or a care of a mother, they might have a very serious social and psychological disorder, especially girls. For example, when a girl is going through stages, body changes, he needs a mother to take care of her, she needs a mother to talk to. When the child doesn't have a mother, that's become a very serious problem. In conclusion, according to functionalist theory, in pre-industrial societies, certain roles for men and women derive from their biological differences, and those distinct roles are going to be less distinguished. Gender is something efficiency in order to move society in a proper way by giving male and female some distinct role. I thank you.
I'll be taking you through conflict perspective on gender. According to conflict theory, the society is defined by the struggle for dominance among social groups competing for insufficient resources. In the gender context, conflict theories argue that gender is best understood as men attempting to maintain power and privilege to the disadvantaged woman. Therefore, conflict theories classify men as dominant group and women as subordinate group. This is demonstrating a huge inequality among the roles of these genders. Conflict theorists argue that the only reason these roles persist is because the dominant group naturally works to maintain their power. This inequality takes through family, politics, and society at large. For example, in politics, most of men still believe that a woman cannot lead. And if we look at the parliament, we see that there is 80% of men in leadership and only 20% of women. I will also like to take the example in United States, America, the elections.
The people voted for Donald Trump just because he was a man and didn't vote for Hillary Clinton because she was a woman. There is also a peak on the collage that demonstrates that people don't believe on a woman president. They believe that the president position is only for men. Karl Marx is looking at gender by comparing modern society and pre-modern society. In pre-modern societies, there was no difference between these two genders and there is nothing abusive. Opposing in modern society, there is private property right and this right is transmitting through patriarchy. So he says there was no inequality in hunter and gatherer society. Inequality is just a characteristic of capitalism. So because women are not paid for their domestic work and men they are paid for their outside or hunting work, so it seems women's work as unnecessary and men show themselves as the breadwinners. To add that, we would like to take on the Frederick Engels. Frederick Engels says that this was due to dependence of women on men for the attainment of wages. Contemporary conflict theory suggests that when women earn wages, they earn power and the family structure and create more democracy arrangements in the home. True life still carry majority of the domestic work. In all, conflict theory claims that gender is one of the dimensions of social inequality, and conflict says that gender inequality provides profit for men and damages for the
One critique of functionalism is maintaining status quo, in this case, inequality. It does not encourage for there to be social change. Functionalism has been used as a justification for male dominance and gender stratification or arrangement. Functionalists do not encourage people to take an active role in changing their social environment by asking questions which values, in this case between men and women, are being promoted. Instead, they see social change as unacceptable because the different parts of society will suffer naturally for any problems accounted. In this case, would speak to women changing the way they are treated and seen. It speaks mainly about role distinction. This is where social equilibrium and social stability comes in, where the maintained status quo originated where men and women were assigned different tasks. Inequalities are promoted in terms of how a woman who is of an inferior position must be subordinate to her husband, and the husband who is of a superior position must be working, the breadwinner, protect, amongst other things, while the woman naturally does all the domestic work and takes care of the children and plus supports those same men. It fails to acknowledge that in the traditional family there are problems such as divorce, child abuse and domestic violence, but it is not spoken about in the name of maintaining status quo. It does not point out that a woman is determined by the status of her wealth, if she's rich or if she's poor, that she is born into determines if she works or not, or even takes care of the children or not. They fail to acknowledge that there are many poor women who are single parents due to the problems I once mentioned, such as child abuse, divorce, and domestic violence in these traditional societies. Functionalists do not account for any social change which may be sparked by conflict, in this case where women fight for themselves to be seen as equal members of society when compared with males. Therefore, things such as gender are ignored in terms of the inequality presented to sustain the status quo for there to be social equilibrium. Examples: socialization of role distinction starts at home. When a child is born, he or she is told that they are a boy or a girl according to their genital organs. Socialization of inequality continues as society chooses what color is appropriate for which gender. Boy is blue and girl is pink.
The main critique of conflict theory is that it tends to dismiss the general agreement among wives and husbands in terms of task allocation. The gender rate division of household labor does not translate to significant wage reduction for employed women outside the home or less in-home responsibilities. Women are not given opportunities to expand influential roles, offering the economy conditions of being equal with males outside the home. Men are also denied opportunities to nurturing roles inside the home. For example, males are not always given the opportunity to babysit or bond with their children. This is seen as a woman's job. Conflict theory has been put in place to support activities designed to reduce racism, classism, and sexism. In conclusion, sociology of gender links both conflict theory